Keep watching our video to find out what scientists discovered in Africa scares the entire world. New human species found in Africa. A new species of human ancestor has been found by researchers deep within a cave in South Africa. This discovery adds a puzzling new branch to the family tree. The discovery of Homo naledi was truly a milestone achieved. A few recreational cave explorers went into Rising Star Cave many years ago. The cave is located around 50 kilometers, 31 miles north of Johannesburg. It is widely known that Rising Star has been a favorite underground destination since the 1960s because of the complex network of tunnels and caverns that make up the area. Rick Hunter and Stephen Tucker were seeking a less well-traveled route. The two were forced to wriggle their way through narrow apertures and holes that, had their waist been a few inches larger, would not have enabled them to pass through. A small opening led into a bigger hollow that was just a few feet broad and around 30 feet long, and projecting calcite tiles covering the walls and ceiling. However, what caught the two men's attention was what was on the ground. There were bones scattered all throughout, simply laying there on the surface like they had been tossed there. A fragment of a human lower jaw with teeth was found. The photographs that the pair took made it very evident to the researchers that the skeleton did not come from a contemporary human being. Some traits, especially those involving the jawbone and teeth, were just too elementary. The scientists needed to send out a recruitment notice for scientists with modest frames so that the excavation could be done correctly and professionally. There was not a single skeleton to be found in the cave, despite the fact that the bones were in very good condition due to the excellent preservation conditions. Besides, there were so many it was difficult to keep track. There were around 1,550 specimens in all, each of which represents at least 15 people. But how did the Homo naledi bones get there? The researchers came to the conclusion that the bodies of the Homo naledi would have been purposefully put there by other Homo naledi after ruling out all other options. Only Homo sapiens, and perhaps a few prehistoric people, like Neanderthals, were known to treat the dead in this manner until this very revelation. When it comes to Africa, you can expect lost humans as well as lost cities. Come along to our next segment to discover more in the continent. But before that, make sure you give a thumbs up to our video and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay in touch with our latest updates. The Lost City of Heraklion. What was the name of the god-guarded city where Helen and her kidnapper Paris took shelter? Heraklion. However, for many years the city remained submerged beneath the ocean until a party of divers working off the coast of Egypt came upon a massive chunk of rock under the seabed and carried it up to shore. Prior to this discovery, the city was presumed to have been lost forever. As they continued their search, they ultimately came across riches around these fragments, including temple ruins, ceramic shards, priceless jewelry, coins, oil lamps, processional boats, and busts. As a contrast to Babylon, Pompeii, or the mysterious Atlantis, Heraklion is not as well known among those living today. In fact, there was a real risk that the waves of the Mediterranean would erase not only the city's physical ruins, but also its memory before the amazing discovery of recent years. Heraklion, which was Egypt's thriving cosmopolitan entryway to the Mediterranean, and consequently its nexus with the Western world, was stretched across a number of interconnecting islands, sandbanks, and mudflats. The majority of the marine trade coming into Egypt from the Mediterranean was under the control of the city. It was crisscrossed by a system of canals, which were connected by a network of ferries, bridges, and pontoons. The waterways were dotted with harbors, wharfs, temples, and tower residences. Goods would be inspected and charged at the Customs Management Center before being moved further inland. One of the findings is the decree of size, a magnificent black stele standing 2 meters tall and carved with perfectly preserved hieroglyphics from the early 4th century BC. The stele sheds light on the intricate structure of contemporary Egyptian tax system. Beneath the sea or high upon the mountain, the continent never ceases to amaze us. Let's move on to the next segment to find out what Africa has got up there. Untouched African rainforest hidden atop of a mountain. Although the Amazon rainforest is the biggest and most well-known, Mount Lico in Mozambique has the status of the world's last untouched rainforest. In the 21st century, what mysteries still lie in wait to be solved? It seems unlikely that people could find a virgin forest to study somewhere that hasn't been bulldozed, burned, and exploited to the bone for precious minerals or virgin timber. But that's exactly what happened this spring, when a Welsh researcher named Dr. Julian Bayliss led a 28-person team to the top of a mountain in Mozambique. The team included scientists who had been specifically chosen for their various talents, as well as logistics experts, rock climbers, and of course, filmmakers. A conservation scientist, an expert in butterflies named Bayliss, first saw a little forest atop a mountain while using Google Earth, which led to the beginning of the Mount Lico expedition. Bayliss had used Google Earth for almost 15 years to study the high-altitude jungles in Africa, so it wasn't the first time he had found such a place. The area around Mount Lico is a mix of smallholder farms, tea, eucalyptus, and forest plantations. There are only rivers to cross, vegetation to chop down with machetes, and miles of dirt track to travel. There are no hostels or paved roads. While residents were aware of Mount Lico and made use of the forest's natural resources, entry was particularly difficult due to the mountain's massive sheer walls, which likely left the peak of the mountain uninhabited. But later, scientists would learn that someone had gone up there at least once. The explorers discovered partially buried ancient pots near the mainstream source. The residents of the area claim that throughout all of memory and folklore, no one has ever scaled the peak. How did the pot makers manage to climb the steep cliff? Was the surrounding land then higher around Lico? Could the date of them be aided by soil analysis? The continent is splitting in two. Yes, you heard it right. Africa is dividing into two halves to create a new ocean. East Africa is home to a variety of readily identifiable natural wonders that have attracted visitors. The East African Rift System, which extends from the Afar area of Ethiopia all the way down to Mozambique, is made up of the western and eastern continental rifts. It is an active continental rift that has been splitting for millions of years at a pace of 7 millimeters annually. Regular eruptions of volcanoes along the rift, new understandings of continent breakdown, and the idea that the continent is separating to create a new ocean are all contributing factors. One of the wonders of the area is the Victoria Microplate, one of the biggest continental microplates. The Victoria Microplate is a rift branch that is connected to the East African Rift System, along with a number of deep lakes and volcanoes, despite not being visible to visitors. A new analysis indicates that for the past 2 years, the Victoria Microplate, which is located between the eastern and western branches of the rift and is the main tectonic plate that makes up the majority of the African continent, has been rotating anti-clockwise with regard to the African plate. It was found that this microplate rotated the opposite way from every other microplate in the area. The Y-shaped end of the rift in the remote area is drawing attention as the potential location of an ocean if the splits continue, even though it gives scientists fresh insights into the African Rift System splitting process. The Y-shaped intersection is close to Eritrea, which has active volcanoes, like the Erta Ale volcano, and Djibouti. Volcanic activity in the area, according to researchers, suggests a rift-to-ridge transition. The Erta Ale has been constantly erupting for more than 50 years, and while it does so, a new narrow ocean basin with a mid-ocean ridge is anticipating to emerge. And with that, we reach the end of our video. Let us know in the comments below which of the discoveries you found to be more intriguing, and stay tuned for more alluring stuff.